Good afternoon everybody, it's a Friday here in Sydney. I don't think I'll get this video out till tomorrow unfortunately, but I'm hoping to edit it tonight and maybe get it published this evening. Anyway, welcome back to another 5-Minute Friday. Apologies, the video's dropped off kind of the second, third week of Tour de France. I'm moving house. I'm actually due to move house tomorrow. We've got the keys today. Due to move house tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. So I've been a little bit under the pump and yeah, look, unfortunately the video's just dropped off. But anyway, we are back for the Elite Men's Road Race preview. I thought I'd put together another 5-minute video for you guys, and we can talk a little bit about the race coming up on Sunday. Quick recap. Wow, the final week of the Tour de France, what a race. A lot of people were talking about it being boring in the first week. I personally don't think it was. I think maybe the mountain stages weren't as exciting as what we could have hoped, but that final time trial, obviously the Pog getting over ROGLIC was a fantastic result for him. I'm super stoked for Richie Porte as well. You know, he's been trying so hard for years and years and years, and I'm absolutely stoked that he managed to make it onto the podium, and that would have made missing the birth of his second child probably worth it in some respects. I don't think you miss something like that, it's always going to be hard, but certainly the third place on the podium was definitely worth it. We'll have a quick chat, obviously, about the women's TT yesterday evening. Poor Chloe Daiger. I mean, what a terrible crash. Another rider going over the barriers. That seems to have been an issue for 2020, and so yeah, never great to see that, unfortunately. And obviously, we've got the Elite Men's time trial tonight. It's looking like it's going to be really, really windy for them. Headwind on the way out, tailwind on the way back. Gusts of up to 80 kilometers an hour. You know, Ganna and Dennis are the favourites, and I think, you know, will we see a surprise? I think it's all going to come down to pacing, who's got the best position on the bike, and pacing into the headwind on the way out on that first leg. It's going to make a big difference, and hopefully we don't see any more crashes. Anyway, on to the Elite Men's Road Race on Sunday. I absolutely love Worlds. I think it provides a fantastic event. They're really unpredictable as well. I think, you know, last year the weather conditions were appalling. Everybody was looking at Van der Poel, and obviously he completely blew up with about 200 Ks raced, leading to Mads getting up for the win, and what a win it was. Year before that, you know, ALAPHILLIPE, I suppose Valverde wasn't really an outsider by any stretch, but everybody was talking about ALAPHILLIPE getting up for the win there, and you know, obviously he got dropped on that final climb, and so look, I absolutely love Worlds. It's a fantastic race, and I think there's always you know, there's always some real surprises that come for it. The course this year is absolutely brutal, so we're going to get right into that. I'm trying something different today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record, well, I've recorded my screen, and we'll see how we go, and I can talk you through the course. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the circuit for the Elite Men's Road Race. So, as you guys know, the World Championships this year is being hosted at Imola, starting and finishing on the F1 circuit, where unfortunately Ayrton Senna lost his life a number of years ago. Now, the circuit itself is, I believe, a 28-kilometre loop, and basically with two major climbs. I say climbs, steep bergs, I suppose you could call them. And both of these climbs are kind of, you know, at the earlier part of the circuit. So you can see here, and I'm going to murder these, we've got the Mazzolano climb and then the Cima Gallisterna. Now, both of these climbs are kind of similar distance and similar average gradient, but I wanted to get into a bit more detail about the climbs themselves, because I think it's worth kind of looking at how potentially riders may tackle these climbs. So moving on to the Mazzolano. So Mazzolano is 2.2 kilometers at 7.1%. And as you'll see in a moment, it's a little bit different to the second climb. The first climb is a lot steeper towards the start. You know, we've got an average gradient here of 9.8% and 9.2%, followed by 7.1 and then 3.5 as kind of the riders crest the top of that first berg. And that one comes, I think it's about 4 kilometers into the circuit. Moving on to the Cima Gallisterna. Now, this climb, I think, again, the average is similar to the last climb, so you know, you would think, oh yeah, quite, you know, similar climb shouldn't be too bad. But I think what's deceptive about this climb is the first kilometre or 800 meters or so are fairly, easy-ish, 3.8%, 2.9%. That's probably giving us somewhat an average of about 3.5% before they hit this absolutely brutal ramp all the way to the top of the climb. So basically from about the 800 meter mark, you're looking at kind of 12%, 11.3, 5.3. You can see here as on the cursor, you can see that the slope is changing. You can see it's pretty much 10.2, 11, 12, 12.2, 12.1, 11.6, 12.9, 12.4, 10.5, it's really, really steep. And remember, the guys have got to go over this about 10 times as well. So it's going to be a really, really tough climb. All right, so who do I think that can win this race? Well, the bookies at the moment have got Wout van Aert at $4.50 favourite, which, if I'm honest with you, I think is absolutely ridiculously short. Obviously, he is in great form. There is no doubt about that. You do not win Strade Bianche, Milan San Remo, 2 sprint stages at the Tour de France, and then basically ride on the front for your team while jettisoning some very strong climbers out of that front group without being in excellent form. I think the question for me is, at $4.50, do I want to back him? I think the answer is no. 5,000 meters of vertical climbing, I think, is a lot. And whilst the Belgians do have a very strong team, I'm not convinced that many of them are going to get to the finish in that lead group. So at $4.50, I'm keen to leave Wout van Aert. If he wins, he wins. I'm happy not to be on him for the reasons I've just outlined, and that's a risk I'm willing to take. Next selection, I think, is JULIAN with the bookies. Now look, I think he's an interesting one, so I'm just bringing up the odds so I kind of got them to hand. He didn't ride overly intelligently in the third week of the tour, in my opinion. He was in breakaways 4 consecutive days, and I think he was attacking when he knew he was going to blow up. But I'm wondering if that was just a ploy, or not a ploy, that's not the right word, but I'm wondering if that was a tactic to just get some form into the legs before having an easy week this week. So he's coming in, maybe not fresh, but recovered some strong days in the legs to kind of build that form, and he's going to give it a real solid nudge. I think the Worlds obviously does tend to throw up some interesting results. Obviously, everybody was talking about Van der Poel last year, and he kind of got shelled after 200 Ks because said he was suffering in the cold. I have my doubts over Van der Poel in races over 200 Ks, but I think that's a story for another day. Valverde the year before, although he was a favourite, so to speak, but there was a lot of talk about how ALAPHILLIPE was going to win the race, and then obviously, a bit of a long season for him, and he got dropped. So I do tend to think that the Worlds do tend to throw up some pretty interesting results, and on a circuit like that we've got on Sunday, I think it's going to be the strongest man. As I mentioned, ALAPHILLIPE is $6.50. I think potentially he was using that third week of the tour to kind of gain some form. FULGESANG is next on the line of betting at $9, and then we've got ROGLIC, POGACAR, Woods, HIRSHI, KWIATOWSKI, Valverde, Schachmann, UCI, and then Tom Pidcock at $23. I think that's a little bit short personally, but anyway, I want to talk about obviously FULGESANG had a really good year last year. He started off this year, or since the restart anyway, he's been going really well, so wouldn't put you off him. He had a bit of a quiet Tirreno Adriatico, but again, he'd had a bit of a break, and then has so I think he'll be going pretty good for Worlds. Roglic and POGACAR. Look, Slovenians have got a really strong squad. I think the main thing for me is, I don't know, we'll see how both of those go racing a one-day race. I think Roglic looks absolutely cooked in that final time trial, and is a week long enough to recover. I've got my doubts about his form. POGACAR obviously, super strong. So if you were interested in having a bet on him, I certainly wouldn't put you off. 3 stages, won the Tour de France, doesn't get much better endorsement than that. Riders that I'm keen on Mark Hirschi at $13. I think, look, his Tour de France form was fantastic. Yeah, there's a question mark about the crash, but he seems to have been okay from that crash, so I'm happy to be on him. And I'm keen to be on KWIATOWSKI as well, just simply because I think that stage when Hirschi did crash, he looked super strong. and I think can definitely win the race, knows how to win from a small group, has won the Worlds before, is used to riding solo when doesn't really have a strong team behind him, so those are all big ticks in my opinion. I also backed Vincenzo Nibali about a week and a half ago at $51. This is the type of race that Nibali would absolutely love. Yes, he's getting on a little bit, but I think at that kind of, we've seen him win Milan San Remo. I had to be on him. The Italians are going to be really aggressive, I think, and it would be a shame if I wasn't on him and he wins. I think the sprinter's going to struggle a little bit. The reason being is like Michael Matthews, $34. Look, the only way he's winning this race, in my opinion, is if the group gets brought back and it's a small group and he is still in there. I think 5,000 meters of vertical is right on his limit and possibly a little bit beyond. We saw at the Tour of Flanders 2 years ago that he was in that front group, but he wasn't at the front. He was in the group just behind, and because he was in the group, nobody was willing to work. And I think he wasn't really able to cover any of the attacks, otherwise he was going to go into the red. So he went well in Flanders, and I backed him that day, and I was super keen, obviously, for him to do well. And I think he did do well, but I think this is harder than Flanders in my opinion. So I think he's potentially not one that I'm keen to back. Max Schachmann, I think $21. It's a pretty appealing price for him. This race would be right up his alleyway. And then I think if you're looking for a couple of riders at somewhat bigger prices, I won't put you off Sepp Kuss at 51. He will have to go solo to win it. Strong enough from a climbing perspective to easily be in the front group, but I think if he comes to the finish in a group, he is not going to win this race. He doesn't have the sprint finish. I think, who else could you make a case for? Look, you might be able to make a case for a couple of the Italian riders a bit further down on the list. If, for example, Move got away, maybe one of them was to attack off the front, and then the riders just looked at each other. Maybe Masnada at 151. Colombians, look, Daniel Martinez, $126, or Sergio Higuita. I think he's recovered from his crash, so he could be worth including. I have my doubts about the Colombians. One-day races, going to be cold and wet as well, but it looks things on Sunday, so I'm not sure how they will go. But look, there's plenty of opportunities. But for me, I'm keen to be on Mark Hirschi and KWIATOWSKI at $13 and $17 at the moment. That's with Bet365. Those are the riders that I'm keen to be on. And I'll probably pop up a few head-to-heads or something along those lines on my Twitter feed. Apologies for the phone ringing. This video has gone on longer than what I anticipated. I hope you've enjoyed watching, trying something different with the video screening and going through the profile. Again, if you like the videos, please hit like, hit subscribe, do all the usual things. You can find me on Twitter at AGLogan, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.